Good afternoon, everybody. Please take your seats. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Congregation Beth Yeshurun's 2021 annual meeting. It's really so wonderful to look around and see real live faces gathered here together in this beautiful sanctuary. And it really just makes me want to say, live from the Barg Sanctuary, it's the 2021 annual meeting. So let's welcome the current executive committee, past presidents, clergy, and staff. For those who I call out your name, please stand and remain standing. We'll clap at the end. For the executive committee, President Jared Bloom, Executive Vice President David Stein, Vice Presidents Carrie Hoffman, Arthur Nathan, and Lori Herzog, Treasurer Jeff Lefkowitz, Secretary Ronnie Most, and immediate past president Arlene Stoller. For the past presidents of the congregation, Andy Berger, Dr. Stephen Croft, Melvin Dow, Dr. Steve Epstein, Milton Frankfurt, Willie Goldberg, Sandy Herskovitz, Dr. Kenny Horwitz, Lorraine Horwitz, Stuart Jacobson, Alan Levine, Irving Pottsmeyer, Joe Rice, Marlene Rosenthal, Annette Sondak, Gary Swartz, Stuart Wilson, and Judy Yambra. Clergy, Rabbi Brian Strauss, Rabbi Stephen Morgan, Rabbi Sarah Fort, Rabbi Danny Horwitz, Rabbi David Rosen, Rabbi Jack Siegel, and Cantor Meir Finkelstein. Executive Director Andy Berger, Education Director Cheryl Eskowitz, Beth Yeshurun Sisterhood Presidents Barbara Koslov and Vicki Ricker, Head of Beth Yeshurun Day School Jennifer Levine, President of Beth Yeshurun School Board Ron Bronis, and all synagogue staff, please stand. We'd also like to recognize our special guests, Linda Berger, CEO of Family Jewish Services. Thank you all. At this time, let's welcome the man that brings us live music still and moves our soul every weekend, Cantor Meir Finkelstein, who will sing Hatikva, and the girl who moves my soul and swells me with pride, my daughter, Rebecca Bloom, to sing Star Spangled Banner.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watch were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled
Beautiful. Thank you. Rabbi Stephen Morgan will now conduct the invocation.
Yeah, I guess please rise. Eloheinu v'Elahei Avotenu, our God and God of our ancestors, as we commence our annual meeting this afternoon, we invoke your blessings on our Kehillah Kedushah, our sacred community, our synagogue family. It's been a long and challenging year, but as we look toward a hopeful future, we ask, Eternal One, that you grant us wisdom, kindness, and understanding as we carefully but deliberately return to a new normal in our communal activities. Let all our decisions and actions in this regard be marked by integrity, sincerity, and thoughtfulness for all of our members. Inspire us with compassion and insight so that we may continue to be a warm and inviting home. May it be a home of learning and wisdom, a Beit Midrash, a home of prayer and reflection, a Beit Tefillah, and a home for us to gather and perform acts of kindness together, a Beit Gemilut Chasadim. And as it says on the walls, maybe not this one, but the other sanctuary, may you dwell among us. Cause us to be ever mindful that each of us here this afternoon and each of our members who are watching at home, and also those who are not watching right now, each and every one has his or her own special spark of holiness to add to our community. Help us, O God, to share that spark of your divine presence with others and to encourage our fellow members to share their gifts with us. Bless the officers and trustees who have worked tirelessly for our congregation during the past year. May they find satisfaction in all their accomplishments and achievements. And bless the efforts of our incoming officers and trustees and inspire them with enthusiasm as they discharge the duties and responsibilities which they have graciously assumed. May they encourage, support and promote an atmosphere of spiritual delight and warmth to all who enter the doors of this house of study, prayer, and benevolence. And to all of this, let us say, Amen. Now we can sit down.
I would like to take this opportunity to thank this congregation for the honor and challenge presented to my beloved husband, Jared Bloom. Jared, I've known since the day we first met all these many, many years ago at Brandeis University, although you're a little bit of a rebel and a bit of an athlete, that you were truly, as my grandmother would say, a mensch. Your commitment to the synagogue over the years is a true testament to that fact. I admire your tireless effort, your work, your ability to be balanced, decisive, and always so smart. I'm so proud of you for taking on this role and how graciously and generously you have contributed to the running of this organization during some pretty challenging times. It has been lovely to watch your love and admiration of this place grow over time. I love you very much, and I'm very, very excited to have you home and present more often in the evenings. At this time, let's welcome my firstborn, Amanda Bloom, who is here to express some wishes, and she reached out on her very own at the very beginning when we were putting this process together, wanting to say something to her dad. Amanda Bloom.
Good afternoon. I want to speak to you today, not only on behalf of my family or as the daughter of the president, but also as a young Jewish person and member of this synagogue. It has been an extremely unique experience to watch my father act as president over these past challenging years. The dedication to this community and grace under pressure I've seen, whether speaking to thousands from the Bima or doing seemingly endless paperwork from the home office, has been impressive, to say the very least. Through it all, from Hurricane Harvey and security concerns after the tragedy at the Tree of Life Synagogue to the COVID-19 pandemic, my dad never shied away from making tough choices and putting in the work needed to keep everyone safe and healthy, while doing everything possible to maintain Jewish life for the members of our synagogue at the times they needed it the most. I know I will always remember the high holy days I spent at Lakewood Church or in a nearly empty main sanctuary. I know I speak for all of the Beth Yeshurun community when I offer a heartfelt thanks for all the time, effort, and patience these past few years have demanded. Through it all, my dad kept up with his full-time jobs, both as a lawyer and as a father to 2 daughters, 2 dogs, and 3 cats. Even while acting as president, he was right there for me through the challenges of online school and social isolation to the daunting process of college admissions. As every teenager does, I've struggled with my identity through my high school years, figuring out who I am and what my place in the world is. As I prepare to go off to college very soon, I don't think I'm even close to having all of that figured out. But there is one thing I can be confident in as I leave home, and that is my Jewish identity. And I largely have my father to thank for that. On behalf of the young people of this synagogue, I want to give a huge thank you to President Bloom for everything he has done over these past years. On behalf of myself and my family, I want to thank my dad for always being there through all the challenges of the past few years. We might fight and disagree about plenty, but I want you to know that every day I am so truly proud to be your daughter. Thank you.
And now, please call on my amazing husband, your current president, Jared Bloom, as he will conduct the business portion of this meeting.
You had her put her on right before I had to talk. Thank you to my beautiful family. I now call to order the 2021 annual meeting of Congregation Beth Yeshurun. With the people in the crowd and those online, we have over 100 members and we have a quorum. There are references, I make reference to the copies of the books and the reports that are in the back, and there's also posted on the website. I now call on Marty Peskin, Board of Trustee member, to approve the minutes of last year's meeting. Are there any changes or corrections to be made to the minutes? Do we have a second? So seconded by Gary Schwartz. The minutes do not need to be voted upon. They are approved by acclamation. I now call on Mark Newman to move to ratify the actions of the Board of Trustees. Do we have a second? Seconded by Michael Bloom. This does need a vote, so all in favor of ratifying the actions of the board for the past year, raise your hand. All opposed? There being none opposed, the actions of the Board of Trustees for the past year is ratified. I now ask at this time, is there any unfinished business from the floor? If not, is there any new business from the floor? With that then, I will turn it over to Rabbi Strauss, who has the strange thing of he gets to introduce me. So I get to introduce Rabbi Strauss, introducing me.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's great to see so many of you here in person, and those of us who are watching online. Every day, get a little bit more sense of community. Every day, I see people I hadn't seen in 14 months. And it's a reminder of just what an incredible and extraordinary community we have. And I'm very excited as the weeks and months ahead that each of us, every day, we'll see things open up just a little bit more, and it's really beautiful. We've been through a very difficult 14 months, but afternoons like this are a reminder that life is going to be good again. life is going to get back to normal. Jared, 3 years ago, we moved back in here in the Baruch Sanctuary into our synagogue, and life was normal again. We thought we had overcome our biggest challenge. There can never be a greater challenge than Hurricane Harvey. And I'll never forget your speech in August of 2018. And there in front of a packed Freeman Levitt sanctuary with no notes at all, you spoke about commitment. What an important part it is of being a leader of a place like Beth Yeshurun. The Israelites had completed the Mishkan, the sanctuary, and for 7 days, Moses had made preparations for its consecration. And now on the 8th day, the Torah tells us the service of the sanctuary was about to begin. And the sages say that in heaven, it was the most joyous day since creation. But Aaron, the brother of Moses, seemed hesitant. We read about how Moses told him to begin his role as the high priest. Moses then said to Aaron, approach the altar and prepare your offerings. The sages sense a nuance in his words. Approach the altar, Moses says to his brother, as if Aaron was standing at a distance from it, reluctant to come near, to take over in his leadership role. They said initially Aaron was ashamed to come close. Moses said to him, don't be ashamed. This is what you've been chosen to do. Why was Aaron hesitant? Why was he even ashamed? Rabbi Jonathan Sachs, may his memory be for a blessing, offers the following explanation. He says, until now, Aaron had been in all respects second to Moses. Yes, he had been at his side throughout, helping him speak and lead, but there's a vast psychological difference between being second in command and being a leader in your own right. We probably all know examples of people who quite readily serve in an assisting capacity, but who are terrified at the prospect of leading on their own. Aaron was reticent at taking on this new role, and Moses had to give him confidence. Approach the altar, he says to him. This is what you've been chosen to do, my brother. A challenge all leaders must overcome, the reluctance to lead. Why me? Why should I get involved? Why should I risk making a difference? Why should I undertake the responsibility and all that comes with it? The high levels of stress, the sheer volume of work, and the never-ending criticisms leaders always have to face. Of course, that never happens at Beth Yeshurun. Even Aaron was overcautious and had to be persuaded by Moses to begin. The greatest were reluctant to lead. Moses at the burning bush found reason after reason to show that he was not the man for the job. Isaiah and Jeremiah both felt inadequate. Someone to lead. Jonah ran away. The challenge to lead is daunting, whether it was thousands of years ago or today. But when you feel as if you're being called to a task, if you know that the mission is necessary and important, then there's nothing you can do but say, Hineni, here I am. You have to feel the fear and do it anyway. Yes, people do not become leaders because they are great. They become great because they are willing to serve as leaders. It does not matter that we think of ourselves as inadequate. Moses did, so did Aaron. What matters is the willingness. When challenge calls to say, Hineni, here I am. Jared, you were great, and you became even greater as our congregational president. Because 3 years ago, you said to your family, to your community, and to Am Yisrael, the Jewish people, Hineni, here I am. And you have said and acted upon it for 3 years. And no, it's not been an easy few years. I don't have to tell you the challenges we've all overcome with you helping us through every step of the way. And despite the challenges, you were willing to serve longer than most presidents do. Not 2 years, but 3 years. Willing to do whatever it takes. Being here every Shabbat. Being here really almost every day of the week. Meetings, the endless meetings, phone calls and conversations, always available. Always available. Whether it was for me or my colleagues, other leaders, or every member of this congregation. Always willing to give a helping hand, being there for anyone in need. Never forget earlier this year when we were finally closing on the sale of the land on Pitts Road. And Jared drove all the way down to Galveston in the middle of a workday to get the final document signed. He was even willing to drive to Austin if necessary. After our winter blizzard just a few months ago, here he was with our president-elect when the power ran out in this congregation's building, in the cold and the rain, trying to get that gate locked and closed. Most importantly, I've seen Jared on numerous occasions, doing it not for the accolades, but picking up elderly members to take them here to shul on a Friday night or a weekday. In fact, I can't think of a time, Jared, that you ever said no to me or to anyone else in our congregation. Instead, you always said, despite how busy you are, Hineni, here I am. You have served as a dugma, as an extraordinary example to your daughters and to everyone in this room and to the thousands of members of Congregation Beth Yeshurun. Jared, yesher koach on an incredible 3 years. Your legacy is cemented in the annals of Beth Yeshurun history. And I know it's a legacy that will serve as a reminder for all that you've done, and a legacy that will inspire all of us for generations to come. Mazel tov, Jared, on an incredible job. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. It's my honor and privilege to present the President's Annual Report for 2020. For some context, I'd like to share with you an excerpt from the beginning of the 2019 Annual Report. After being displaced and fully returning to our spiritual home for the 2018 high holidays, 2019 was a year of returning to normalcy. Normalcy. 2020 challenged everything we know about normalcy. For the synagogue's history books, will 2020 go down as the year of the coronavirus pandemic, the year of quarantine, the year of defining the new normal? Will it be remembered for moments and events that were missed or opportunities that were taken? I declare that it shall be recorded that 2020 was a year that a large institution, steeped in centuries of tradition and teachings, with numerous and diverse congregants, adapted and metamorphosized with agility, creativity, and technology to continue its mission of supporting a learning, spiritual, and caring Jewish community. 2020 was a year of adaptation, not cancellation. While the whole world was thrown into this new normal, Congregation Beth Yeshurun is different. Religious institutions are different. Prior to the pandemic, many people had had some experience with shopping online, video chatting with grandkids, streaming movies, ordering takeout, working from home. Yes, everything was different, but for a synagogue, a place whose main purpose is for people to congregate and socialize, be together, pray together, share simchas together, and mourn together, the idea of not being able to congregate could be paralyzing, but it did not. For the reasons outlined below and contained in the committee reports, I believe the history book should record 2020 as the year when Congregation Beth Yeshurun demonstrated its ability to be nimble and reactive when the situation arose, but deliberate and well thought out in its exodus from the coronavirus pandemic. Because of the forethought of the synagogue's leaders before me, the technology was in place which allowed us to move most of our operations online. From high holiday services to daily minions, Friday evening services, Shabbat services, 100 Jewish men, lunch and learns with the clergy, special guest lectures, and funerals. Because of our talented staff led by Executive Director Andy Berger, along with Program Coordinator Jennifer Rosenzweig and Communications Manager Ashley Mills, and Executive Assistants Abby Rotenberg and Lisa Unsel, we were able to make all of this happen while assisting our congregants with their technological needs to remain connected to their community. Because of our able, dedicated, and learned clergy, led by Senior Rabbi Brian Strauss and Cantor Mayor Finkelstein, we were able to remain connected and minister to the community's spiritual needs during a year with many demands. While B'nai Mitzvah were a challenge, our B'nai Mitzvah coordinator, Sarah Kaiser, committee chair, Susan Sandler, clergy and tutors worked with some of the most gracious and dedicated families regarding scheduling and limitations to allow for many safe B'nai Mitzvah to take place. Rabbi Morgan, among with many other duties, continued with his conversion and adult B'nai Mitzvah classes, while Rabbi Fort continued to engage our young adults and families with virtual services and programs. Our religious school, under our education director, Cheryl Eskowitz, and committee chair, Bill Schwartz, adapted to be able to continue providing online classes, resuming in person when it was safe to do so, being the only religious school in the city of Houston to meet in person. The Bark Sanctuary was transformed into BYTV by Mouthwatering Media to provide a professionally produced high holiday experience when we were not able to be in our building. Thank you to Nancy and Arthur Brand and family, and Gilda and Warren Sprung and family. Our high holiday services were viewed by over 13,000 individual devices from around the world. A group of congregant volunteers led by Jonathan Bailiff and our membership coordinator, Mindy Stern, launched the Hesed community to reach out to our elderly congregants during the year to check in and provide assistance needed, including technological assistance and water needs during the historic winter storm. Our office staff maintained operations, whether from home or from our building, and our maintenance staff kept our physical plant safe and secure, while devoting much attention to assisting the day school and religious school with room configurations and continual cleaning and disinfecting to allow for safe operations. On March 25th, 2021, Congregation Beth Yeshurun was awarded a 2020 Gold Brick Award from the Historical Society for the restoration of our historical landmark. Thank you to Glenn Rosenbaum and all involved in the entire process from restoration to accreditation. A financial note in 2020 was the sale of the property known as Pitts Road, which the synagogue was gifted in 1960. The receipt of a significant portion of the reimbursement funds from FEMA related to Hurricane Harvey remediation and restoration, and the receipt of PPP loans. And under John Fywell, the chair of the Budget Committee, we are presenting a balanced budget to the congregation for 2021-2022 with the assistance from our executive staff, including our controller, Nicole Deloche. On the development front, under the leadership of Director of Development, Jennifer Sutton, a plan was developed and is already in execution to enhance the fine atrium with museum cabinetry filled with Judaica from the Kaplan Museum Collection in collaboration with the Museum Committee under the leadership of Dr. Dan Musher. We also resumed the Legacy Foundation campaign with a wonderful online concert in early 2021. Congregation Beth Yeshurun is committed to strategic planning to be completed within the next 12 to 18 months, which will provide the board, clergy, and executive staff a long-term plan for Beth Yeshurun as we define what our normalcy is. Normalcy for Beth Yeshurun based on our congregants' needs and desires, advice and input. What have we learned? How have we changed? How does everything fit within our tradition, customs, missions, and unique congregation? How will we lead the conservative movement? These questions will be explored and answered during the process as we look forward to Beth Yeshurun's future. 3 years ago, searching for a new executive director, I received a call from our then president, Andy Berger, who asked if I would start my term early if he threw his hat in the ring for executive director. I answered that call, meaning that my term started with a new president, new executive director, and new senior rabbi. The three musketeers, the three amigos, or the three blind mice. When I was asked if I would serve an additional 4 months after my term because of the calendar change in the Constitution, I answered that call. But the call answered was the call instilled in me by the teachers at Beth Yeshurun Day School in the Hillel High. Rabbi Siegel, on my bar mitzvah, on this very bema, when he said, "Tonight is not the end of your Jewish journey, but the beginning." Rabbi Rosen under the huppah with me and my bride and the Jewish family that would someday grow. My parents, for showing me the importance of Judaism and being part of the community and leadership. It has been an honor to serve as the president of this historic landmark. I'm a better person and Jew for having done so. I believe I've served the institution well and honorably in furtherance of its missions and leave it in a better place physically, spiritually, and financially than when I took office, advancing what those had done before me. There was no one I feel more comfortable turning the reins over to than to our next congregational president, David Stein. I don't know anyone who cares more about the institution of Beth Yeshurun or every single person who comprises it. From members to staff, David cares deeply about everyone's needs and point of view. He possesses the compassion and passion for the position, the business acumen for the current situation, and the vision to lead us forward. Leading a synagogue is unique in general, and especially Beth Yeshurun. The best advice I can give you, David, is trust your staff, board, and clergy to advise and guide you. Trust your instincts. The congregation has elevated you to this position for a reason. And work to get to yes. We are a synagogue, a voluntary community, and respectful, positive solutions are always in the community's best interest. In closing, I offer my sincere appreciation to all of those who have supported me in the synagogue over the past year. To the Board of Trustees, the Executive Committee, and past presidents for their outstanding dedication and commitment of time and skills. To our clergy and staff who rose to every challenge that I faced, whose hard work, commitment, passion, and caring is Beth Yeshurun. Thank you to our donors who have been so generous in support of the synagogue. Excuse me. Thank you to all our committee chairs and volunteers, and thank you to the Beth Yeshurun Sisterhood for their support of the synagogue and its operations. Andy, where is Andy? Andy, thank you for having the faith in me to handle this position, for the support, guidance, advice, hard work, long hours, and friendship. Your analytic skills, perspective, and talent are exactly what we need right now, and you provided me with so much knowledge through the years that assisted me in making well thought out, informed decisions. All the issues that I handled, you handled. Your persistence and doggedness in everything, but especially in pursuing the FEMA reimbursements, has made my term as president that much easier and more productive. Thank you. Rabbi Strauss, my rabbi. I already experienced so much with you as my rabbi and as a friend, but the relationship between the senior rabbi and the synagogue president is unique. I know people will be surprised to hear, but we don't always agree. But there is always respect. And getting to see up close and personal for the past years your daily work, I have nothing but respect. I am more religious and observant now than I have ever been. And a lot of that comes from the respect I have for seeing how you do it. Everyone says I've had my share of issues to deal with as president. Well, I wasn't alone. We have all been through a lot. Your words of wisdom during difficult times and difficult decisions are inspiring and helpful, and all I can really say is Todah Rabbah. Thank you to the congregation for your trust in me with what we hold sacred. I never lost sight of that. Your support of Beth Yeshurun and Judaism is what makes the Houston Jewish community a special and unique community. To Bruce Stein, Mr. Beth Yeshurun. Thank you for your support and advice, some of which I listened to and some of which I did not. I look forward to sharing your upcoming mitzvah of becoming a Jewish man again. A special thank you to Glenn Rosenbaum, whose advice and assists not only me, but others on our staff, and blesses us with his wise counsel. Mom and Dad, I'm here because of you. You showed me at a very young age the importance of volunteering, serving, being part of the community, and being Jewish. I remember evenings with our dining room packed with leaders of the community discussing and debating the future of I. Wiener Jewish Secondary School, which is now Emory Wiener. I remember going on Sundays to the JCC to stuff envelopes for a Russian Jewry campaign or increase support for Israel. You led by example. Thank you for your love and support. I love you. Amanda and Rebecca. I really became involved in the synagogue to set an example for you as Granny and Papa did for me. And I didn't know what Amanda was going to say today, so that means something was done right, because the next line was, only time will tell if I succeed. But in the meantime, you set an example for me of support and encouragement. Trust me, I get it. You are teenagers, mature, wise teenagers, but teenagers. I wasn't involved in my synagogue at all at your age. Through high school, I did the minimum needed to qualify to go on the pilgrimage with the Federation. And luckily, Papa didn't go off and become the president of the synagogue while I was in high school. So I do get it. But even with all of that, I have felt incredibly supported and encouraged by both of you. If anyone has followed my official Instagram account, done by my social media director, Amanda, as well as assisting with various videography and editing projects and volunteering at the synagogue. Rebecca, you have blessed me with performance and prayers. Hearing you sing in Hebrew brings tears to my eyes. Your volunteering and you and your friends' somewhat odd encouragement. You both have so much talent. Your skills and creativity amaze me. I hope some of that talent continues to be dedicated to whatever Jewish community you are a part of. And I'm proud of both of you and love you both. Sarah. Kind of funny, because I didn't know you were going to talk about when we met at Brandeis as well too, but what a long, strange trip it has been. I know when we met 31 years ago at Brandeis, you didn't say, that guy is going to be a synagogue president. In fact, I know what you thought, but luckily I was able to change that first impression. You are my foundation. Yes, the enormous amount of day-to-day things you take care of for me and the family, for which I know I do not show adequate appreciation, especially during this past year, and while being president has occupied my time, is amazing, inspiring, exhausting, and makes everything possible. But more importantly, you are my foundation, that which everything else is built upon. Since the day we met, you have made me a better person, continuing through this day. I was a better president because of you. I know what your history and relationship with Beth Yeshurun and with synagogue and life in general, and it's different than mine. And your differing views and ideas provided me with an alternative perspective, which benefited my decision-making and the synagogue at large. Your patience, allowing me to bend your ear again and again on all sorts of issues, big and small, late nights and early mornings, made this endeavor possible. I could not do this, any of this, or anything without you as my partner. I love you. And thus concludes my annual report. I now call on immediate past president and chair of the nominating committee, Arlene Stoller, for the report from the nominating committee.
Okay, before I make the nominating committee report, I would just like to remember Robin Skolnick. Robin was a member of the Beth Yeshurun, she was a member of the Beth Yeshurun board. She was a member of Sisterhood. She passed away this past year. She was very committed to the synagogue and an integral part of the board, very active at board meetings, and we will miss her. First, I'd like to introduce the members of the nominating committee. Ali Danziger, Michael Hofrichter, Richard Kammerman, Bill Schwartz, and Robin Stein. As you know, the nominating committee is comprised of 3 board members and 3 non-board members. The committee worked long and hard. It was a little bit more of a challenge because everything had to be over Zoom. We had some wonderful nominees. And we did, I think, very thorough job of trying to ensure that there was diversity as far as the new members that are coming onto the board. I'd like to thank all of the members of the board who have completed their service: Melissa Brams, John Fywell, Robin Skolnick, and Sherry Stoger, and also Jonathan Bailiff, Margie Fields, Julie Kaplan, Jessica Samet, and Samantha Melman, who have chosen not to continue as board members. I'd like to thank the members of the Senior Advisory Board for their service during this past year: Michael Hofrichter, Richard Kammerman, Susan Sandler, and Andrew Tobin. So now I'd like to introduce the members that have been nominated for a 2-year term on the board to serve for 2021-2022. If you can stand at your seats and remain standing if you're in the synagogue: Rena Cammey, Del Coleman, Michael Hofrichter, Richard Kammerman, Corby Kelly, Paul Matter, Scott Michaelman, Susan Sandler, Jeremy Sorkin, and Morgan Steinberg. And I'd now like a motion to elect the above by acclamation. Okay, all in favor? Any opposed? Please remain standing. I'd now like to introduce the members of the board who are in their 2nd year of their first 2-year term for 2021-22 and ask them to stand at their seats and remain standing: Anna Guerra, Herb Kalman, Bill Schwartz, Jason Smith, and Matt Wigder. And the 3rd group are those nominees who have served 1 full 2-year term for 2019 to 20 and are nominated for a 2nd 2-year term for 21 to 22. I'd also like them to stand at their seats: Brian Goldfarb, Micah Kessler, Rebecca Lux, and Mark Newman. Can I have a motion to elect those folks by acclamation? All in favor? Any opposed? And finally, I'd like to introduce the board members who are in their second year of the second two-year term for 2021-22 and ask them to stand at their seats and remain standing. Manny Bodner, Marty Peskin, Lindsay Tavor, Bonnie Winograd, Rachel Zuckman. And I would also ask the sisterhood representative to the board to stand as well, which is Barbara Kozlov. Okay. Now we need Jared to ask Rabbi Strauss to install the people who are standing. I'll ask Rabbi Strauss. Okay.
It's an honor now to install the members of our congregational board. And a reminder, the leadership does demand devotion. Good leadership is never automatic. The heritage of our tradition records that in ancient times, as Rabbi Asai lay dying, his nephew saw that he was weeping and asked, "Why do you weep? Could there be any part of a tradition which you have not studied or taught? Your disciples are sitting here before you, and could there be any act of loving kindness which you have not done?" "I hardly think so," they said to him, and over, above all your qualities, you've never intruded into community affairs. You've never tried to become appointed to an office administrating to the needs of the community. For which Rabbi Asai replied, "That is why I weep. Perhaps I shall be condemned, because I was able to lead, but chose not to lead." All of you that are now standing could lead. You've been asked to lead. Despite your busy schedules, you have chosen to lead. You've set an example for all of us. We thank you for your service. And as you begin this new term on our board, please remember these words that in so many ways set an example of what a good Jewish leader should be. The rabbis say, "May the door of a synagogue like this be wide enough to receive all who hunger for love and all who are lonely for fellowship. May this synagogue under your leadership may continue to welcome all who have cares to unburden, thanks to express, and hopes to nurture. May the door of Beth Yeshurun be narrow enough to shut out pettiness and pride, envy and bitterness. And may its threshold be no stumbling block to young or straying feet. May it be too high to admit complacency, selfishness, and harshness. And may this synagogue, under your leadership, continue to be for all who enter the doorway to a richer and more meaningful Jewish life. Mazel tov on your appointment, and we thank you for your service.
Before you sit down, I'd like all of those people who were standing to join me in Stein Hall to elect the executive committee of the board. Please leave now and we will be back shortly.
So we recently celebrated the birth of Israel Independence Day, and I didn't get a chance to sing Avinu Shabashamayim, so I'm going to do it now. Avinu Shabashamayim, Tzur Yisrael v'goalo, Arich et Medinat Yisrael, Reshit צמיחת גאולתנו. הגן, הגן עליה, בעברת בעברת חסדך, ופרוס עליה, עליה, סוכת שלומך. ושלח אורך במדבר, לראשיה, שריה ויועציה, ותקנם בעצה טובה, בעצה טובה מלפניך. אבינו שבשמיים, צור ישראל וגואלו, ברך את מדינת ישראל, ראשית צמיחת גאולתנו. Strengthen the hands of those who defend our holy land. Avinu Shebashamayim, deliver them from their efforts with triumph. Avinu Shebashamayim, Tzur Yisrael v'goalo. Bless our land with peace, O God, and its inhabitants with lasting joy, and let us say, Amen, Amen. Barech et medinat Israel.
Okay, the board has spoken. The results of the vote for officers are President David Stein, President-elect Carrie Hoffman, Vice President Arthur Nathan, Vice President Jeff Lefkowitz, Vice President Ronnie Most, Secretary Andrew Tobin, and Treasurer Lori Herzog. If those officers can please step forward so that Rabbi Strauss can install you.
As I prepare to install our new officers, allow me just a very brief word about an officer who will no longer be on the executive committee. And that's my friend and our past president, Arlene Stoller. It's hard to believe that we'll now have a leadership team without Arlene on that team. As everyone in this room knows, we've seen the incredible work Arlene's done over the years here for Beth Yeshurun. And whether it's through Sisterhood or Education Committee or through the religious school here at the congregation, Arlene has been there again and again, serving as president during Hurricane Harvey when our own home flooded, And despite the personal challenges she was going through, Arlene was always here to make sure that we would rebuild here in the congregation. It's a leadership that I think none of us will ever forget. So Arlene, I know that even though you won't officially be on the executive committee anymore, you will still be available to all of us for your advice and your wisdom and for your guidance and your support. Please join me again in thanking Arlene Stoller for all of her service. So now to our new officers of the congregation, I offer you these words from our tradition. The book of Deuteronomy says, Ma Adonai Elohecha, what does Adonai, our God, require of us? To revere, to love, to serve with all our heart and soul, and to keep the commandments and statutes of Adonai. Now at this time, as you take over officers of this congregation, our God and God of our ancestors, bless the leaders of our congregation with wisdom, vigor, and understanding. Sustain them with your spirit, Adonai. Grant that their labors be a blessing and a source of blessing. Do look at the advice from our tradition. Thousands of years of leadership. The stories are there, the values are there, the history is there. Delve, study, learn from it, grow from it. And take pride in what you've been asked to do by our congregation. What does Adonai, our God, require of you? To serve the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, and might. We thank you for taking on this leadership role as I officially install you as officers of Congregation Beth Yeshurun. Mazel tov. Now it's an honor to introduce our new congregational president. David, there are many incredible qualities of why this congregation has asked you to lead. You're kind-hearted, you're compassionate, you're wise. But there are many qualities that this congregation looks to when it chooses its presidents. But I think one serves above the rest. It's something that's been installed in you and instilled in you since you were a young boy. And that's a care and compassion for this congregation. It's something that your parents led by example, and it's something that you've always had. And whether as a young man or a young father, whatever capacity in which you've chosen to serve in the Greenfield Chapel, on our board, whether it was the Torah campaign 10 years ago as we wrote a new Torah, and now your service as an officer of our congregation. We've seen that wisdom, we've seen that kindness, but most importantly, we've seen that passion for all things Beth Yeshurun. David, continue to have those qualities, continue to grow, continue to learn. And I know because of who you are and because of that great love you have for people, for Jews, and for this congregation, you will serve in an extraordinary capacity as president of Congregation Beth Yeshurun. May God always bless you and keep you in this role. May God always show you his favor and be gracious to you. And may God only show you kindness and give you shalom, peace, as the next 2 years as president of Congregation Beth Yeshurun. Mazel tov, David, on this incredible accomplishment.
Way to go, Jofta.
Thank you very much, Rabbi Strauss. But before I give up my remarks, I would like to call up our past president, Jared Bloom. Well, I tell you what, you really are a tough act to follow. I do have a few little gifts here before I give my remarks. It's a plaque from Congregation Beth Yeshurun presented to Jared Bloom with heartfelt appreciation, exemplifying the highest ideals of Judaism service as our president, not for 2 years, but for 3 years, 2018 to 2021. Thank you, Jared. We also asked many of our congregants, or all of our congregants, to send in a tribute to Jared and thanking him for his service to this congregation for, again, 3 years. More probably the longest tenured president. So we have a beautiful book, bound book here from tribute sent by all of the congregants, thanking you for the service that you provided our synagogue during these 3 difficult years. Thank you, Jared. And now I'd like to call upon our former First Lady, Sarah Bloom. Sarah, thank you very much for sharing your husband with us for 3 years. And we would like to present you with these flowers as a token of our appreciation. Thank you. Good afternoon, and thank you all very much for being here, either in person or virtually, for our annual meeting. I am both honored and humbled to be installed as the 40th president of Congregation Beth Yeshurun. It is also somewhat apropos to be the 40th president, as the number 40 is very prevalent in the Torah, usually signifying a change. For example, it rained for 40 days and 40 nights during the Great Flood, in which God started over, saving only Noah, his family, and the animals on the ark. When the Israelites were freed from slavery, they camped on Mount Sinai while Moses went up to receive God's laws. He was on the mount for 40 days before coming down. And how long did the Israelites wander in the desert before finally reaching the promised land? 40 years. So what does this have to do with me? Well, I've served under 3 incredible presidents during my time on the executive committee. Arlene Staller and Andy Berger, who led our synagogue through the damage and rebuild after the flooding caused by Hurricane Harvey, and Jared Bloom, whose leadership guided the synagogue through what seemed like the 10 plagues. First, there was the power outage caused by heavy storms on all nights Rosh Hashanah. Then there was this thing called COVID. And finally, through an unprecedented winter storm just a few short months ago, which left millions without power and water for at least several days. So now it's my turn. And if the number 40 holds true, we should be in for several years of peace and tranquility. At least that's what I'm hoping for anyway. A very good friend of mine recently asked me what I wanted to accomplish first as the new president and what kind of leader can the synagogue expect. To this, I answered, the most important thing for me right now is to have people feeling comfortable enough to come back to Beth Yeshurun. As more people receive the vaccinations and the number of COVID cases decreases, we should be able to handle more and more people back here, hopefully leading up to somewhat regular high holiday services. Of course, there are no guarantees where we will be next month, let alone in September, but that's my hope. Until then, starting next week, we will be open to at least 150 members, and I would really like to see us get close to that number, especially on Friday nights and Saturday mornings. Also, hopefully soon, we will begin having kiddush luncheons again on Saturday mornings. It is said that a synagogue is at the heart of a Jewish community, and if that is true, then you, our congregants, are the heartbeat. No synagogue can survive without members, and this is especially true with Beth Yeshurun, as we are the largest conservative synagogue in the United States. We have such an incredible clergy led by our senior rabbi, Brian Strauss, and his associates, Rabbi Steve Morgan and Rabbi Sarah Fort. We are also blessed to have 2 wonderful Rabbi Emeriti and Rabbi David Rosen and Rabbi Jack Siegel. And finally, we are so truly grateful to have such an incredible world-renowned cantor and Mayor Finkelstein. Yes, we are extremely fortunate, and it would be great to see all of you back here, no matter which service you prefer, the main sanctuary, the J.B. Greenfield Chapel, or the Museum Minyan. Just remember one thing. We want you to come back here when you are ready and when you're feeling comfortable. And when you are ready, we will be waiting for you. With regards to what kind of leader to expect, I know you may have heard this once or twice. I answered with 2 words, passion and compassion. Yes, I know Beth Yeshurun has to be run like a business, and decisions need to be made that are fiscally responsible and in the best interest of the synagogue. But there are times when we need to have compassion. Compassion for our congregants, compassion for our staff and leaders, and compassion for our community. Not every decision needs to be made with the bottom line. And if our congregants have a need, we will do our very best to provide for them. If you remember my high holiday appeal speech, which I actually gave twice on Yom Kippur, you may recall me saying that Beth Yeshurun has always been a part of my life. I graduated from the day school here. I was bar mitzvahed here in this sanctuary. I was confirmed here. I was married at Beth Israel, but not only did my wife join Beth Yeshurun, her entire family came with her, so it was actually a net gain for the synagogue. My children, Julie and Jonathan, the now 5th generation of my family to be a part of this synagogue, both attended the day school here and had their bar and bat mitzvahs here as well. There's no pressure, you two, but hopefully one day we'll be under the chuppah here as well. But it is my most recent family life cycle event that changed me and my feelings for Beth Yeshurun. When my mother, Shirley, of blessed memory, passed away in 2013, my father, brothers, and I attended the morning and evening minions for an entire year to say Kaddish. The regulars who attend both services, as well as others that joined us during the year who were also saying Kaddish, took us in and made us feel like a part of their family. It was truly a transformative year and one that drew me closer than ever to Beth Yeshurun and its congregants. I need to mention a few people who were instrumental in making that year so special. There are several who unfortunately are no longer with us. Steve Rudolph, Jerry Lass, and my dear friend, Dr. Irving Rothman, who all helped my brother Gary and I learn how to daven in the morning and evening prayers. A special thanks also goes out to Richard Kammerman, Bubba Silverstein, Michael Lewis, Jack Usick, and of course, Rabbi Danny Horowitz. That year of being here every day made getting over the loss of my mom just a little easier. And for that, I am truly thankful. So when I was asked several years later to serve on the executive committee, knowing that one day I might be asked to be the president, it was my honor to say yes. This is my way of giving back to the synagogue that has always been there for me. So to say I am passionate about Beth Yeshurun, that's an understatement. This truly is my home away from home. So there you have it. That's me, as Rabbi Strauss and Jared so warmly put it, a people person. Or as my wife Andrea likes to say, a real schmooze. I look forward to serving the synagogue as its president for the next 2 years. I would be remiss, however, if I did not add the bar mitzvah part of this speech, and yes, that would be the thank yous. First, I would like to thank all of the past presidents for their service to the synagogue, and many have already reached out to me volunteering to share their wisdom and experiences with me as well. I would also like to thank Arlene Staller, who was president when I first came onto the executive committee. She has not only been such a big help to Beth Yeshurun, but she has also chaired the nominating committee for the last several years, and she has done a great job of putting together some excellent boards of trustees, as well as executive committees. Thank you very much, Arlene. To Andy Berger, thank you very much for always being there, first as president and now as our incredible executive director. I could not ask for a better person to work with to help run this synagogue on a daily basis. You make my job easier, and for that, I am truly grateful. To the clergy and staff, I look forward to working with all of you, and please know that I am always here to help. To my good friend and mentor, Jared Bloom, I could not have asked for a better person to learn from than you. You are smart, you are thoughtful, but I'm also kind of mad at you because you've raised the bar so high on how to be a good leader. I can only hope to achieve your success. I'm also very pleased that you have taken on the task of leading our new strategic planning committee. I could not have asked for a better person to take on this responsibility. But oh, by the way, if just by habit you park in your old parking space, I will tell Gil to have you towed. Gary and Brad, I could not have asked for two better brothers and business partners than the two of you. I know this new role will be time consuming and may take me away from the office, and I will handle both as best as I can. But having your support means everything to me. Some people have actually said to me that your brothers can be intimidating, but to these people, I always say, they're not intimidating. They are inspiring. You always inspire me to be my best. There's an old saying that behind every man is a strong woman, and that is so true when talking about my wife, Andrea. You are such an incredible wife, mother, daughter, sister, aunt, and friend. You are my rock and my sounding board, and have always been by my side for the last 27 years. I love you more than you will ever know. To my children, Julie and Jonathan, I'm so proud of the two of you. You have both matured into adults right before my eyes. I know that neither of you live in Houston, at least not right now, but I also know that I have your support 100%. I truly am blessed to have such an incredible family. Well, that's all of the thank yous I have for now. Oh, wait a minute. Wait. There's one more person I almost forgot about, and that's really hard to do. My dad, Bruce, the original Mr. Beth Yeshurun. You have always been there for me, teaching me and guiding me in the right paths, and always sharing your advice and opinions, whether I ask for them or not. I love you so much, and I'm so fortunate that I have you in my corner. Thank you again to the members and leaders of this great synagogue for putting your trust in me. I will do my very best not to let you down. Thank you. Now I would like to call upon Rabbi Sarah Fort to give a benediction.
Sorry, please remain standing for the closing benediction. We tried to line it up for y'all. Eloheinu v'Elahei Avotenu, O God of ourselves and of our ancestors, thank you for the wisdom of our tradition that teaches such things like Lo alecha melacha lagomer. It is not your duty to finish the work, for Lo ata ben chorim lebatel mimenu, but nor are you free to desist from it. God, please give all in our congregational family, and especially the incoming board and leadership of this great community, the wisdom to know when to press forward, when to draw strength from the inner reserves, and when to try our absolute hardest to make the work that it takes to bring a great congregation and community such as this back to its glory and beyond. And also, God, please give us all the wisdom and the strength to know when to pull back, when to refresh ourselves, and when to seek solace, to reserve our strength for the work that we have ahead of us. Thank you, God, for the blessings and all the blessings you have given all of your children, which includes everyone in this room joining us online and even beyond. We thank you for all of the things that are in your care every day and for the beautiful lives that we are allowed to lead together. And let us all say, Amen.
Thank you very much, Rabbi Fort. You may be seated. I've always wanted to do that. I would now like to thank Sarah, Amanda, and Rebecca Bloom for serving as our Masters of Ceremony. Y'all did a great job, and I'm sure your dad is extremely proud of y'all. And as my first official duty as the new president of Congregation Beth Yeshurun, I would like to call on Arthur Nathan for a motion to adjourn the business meeting. Thank you, Arthur. And Carrie Hoffman, our new president-elect, would you please second the motion? If there's no further discussion, I declare the annual meeting officially closed. Thank you all very much for being here, either in person or virtually. Thank you.